Alright, so recently channel member Fat Ninja donated a mini PC to me. This was a brand new inbox, had the shrink wrap and everything, and yeah, he got one himself. We're going to do a little bit of mucking around, but I thought I can't find a teardown video anywhere on these, so I might do one myself. And I'm curious to find out what's under the heatsink in this as well. So let's pop this open. Right, well first of all we're going to open the hard drive bay, which is a SATA hard drive bay, and there's 4 small screws here. Now we've got the drive bay open here. If I can get a spudger under. There we go. And the 4 screws removed. There is a standard SATA port with power in here. In the new box they give you the mounting screws for a 2.5 inch drive, but it looks very much like you could fit a 3.5 inch. Let's see if I've got a spare. Right, found a 3.5 inch drive. This one's come from Predator Tackle. Defective drive from a machine of his I fixed. They've sponsored the channel before. No, definitely will not fit the whole 2.5 inch drive, not a 3.5 inch. Interesting to know though. Alright, let's flip this thing over. This is hot. I've been running it and I think it's thermal throttled, which I have had the lids off these before, and when we get to opening this thing up you'll see why it thermal throttles. So be careful when you open this up and swing off this side, because there are 2 little connectors here that connect to the Wi-Fi antennas, which are glued onto the top of the lid there. Now you can peel that tape off and you can pop those connectors off, which I might actually do. That heatsink is quite warm too, so we might just lift this piece of tape up here that retains those, stick it over there. Now there is an NVMe slot here. Originally it looked like it was a twin slot, but it's just an elevated single. So we're going to pop connector off here if I can carefully. I might need tweezers. There is. Let's swing this camera around, give a zoomed up look of that. Zoom in a bit. So we want to get these guys off that little bit without damaging any of the connectors around here or the components. There we go. Alright, now this doesn't have upgradable RAM, or at least not user upgradable, and I think the eMMC is on board as well. Looks like there's a little track around here that's intended for like an RF shield or something. But I'm going to take this lid off, which uses tiny little Phillips screws. Take this heatsink off, and let's see if it's thermal pads or heatsink paste. And I need my magnetizer to magnetize that. Looks like these are thinner screws than the rest. They're not in very tight. These are actually in quite loose. So maybe some of the thermal throttling might be poor heatsink contact. There are only 3 screws. At least that appears to be the case. Yes, there's only 3. Alright, is it going to come up gently? It might. There we go. Alright, so they're just thermal pads. So it appears to be thermal pad for the CPU and one for what might be the GPU. No thermal pads on the RAM or the MMC. So the RAM chips are definitely stuck on board. Let's get a better view. Okay, let's take a look at the CPU here. So CPU is an exposed die. There's no metal can on that, and it's definitely solder balled on, so not easily replaceable. We can move up to RAM sticks here, which are Samsung RAM sticks, or RAM chips rather. It would be conceivable to be able to heat gun them off and reball a new chip and put it on a bit more than I've got the time for. The eMMC here should probably be replaceable with a heat gun as well, but again I don't have the gear to reball that. Get our Wi-Fi module we saw before. So yeah, I would like to probably replace these, but not going to be as easy as I'd hoped. And these thermal pads, yeah, I don't think they're getting good conductivity. Wonder if we could probably even just build a fan into the top of this. We'll work it out. Okay, we've got the main board out and we've got it flipped over, and it was obviously incorrect. Here's the BIOS battery here, which is not quite plugged in properly. Now notice back on the reverse side, there is a little header here that maybe is intended for a fan. I'm not sure. Not sure what it's meant for. But it's interesting how everything's laid out. I want to know what's under this big sticky pad, which is obviously designed to keep this clear for the drive, so we don't have short out and everything like that. But I want to know what's under it. I'd wager probably nothing exciting. Oh, okay. So there is a pad, or rather an RF shield under here that is actually lifting up with the sticky pad. So I'm going to hold that down and peel the sticky pad off, and we can reattach that later. Let's put a magnet on it for now. So yeah, and there's also some numbers here. Let's have a closer look at them. We can see the AB3 SKU not 29. I guess that'll be manufacturing marks. But this bit was coming up. I wonder what's under here. Probably the back of the CPU, I would guess. Yep, this was not soldered on. So this is reverse a heatsink die. So this is providing some heat conductivity on the back here. And what these 4 thermal pads are for, I'm not sure. They don't appear to be contacting anything. I guess this was meant to have other RAM sticks or something underneath. And this is the back of the CPU die. So that, I think, just slots into those little pins, and that holds it in. Well, that's interesting. Not much else to be seen on the back of this board, really. There looks like there might have been an unpopulated header over here. So yeah, it's interesting stuff. Peel this sticky pad back on, which I don't think will ever go back on right again, but we'll make it look somewhat right. So it's interesting. But yes, I couldn't find a video anywhere of one of these being opened or a teardown or a close examination of them. So I decided to do one. Now I can demonstrate how the SSD goes in. I think I have a spare one here. This one may be attached to another board. So one moment. So a standard SSD or an NVMe will fit in here. This one has got this keying on the bottom. And yeah, they slot in and they screw down on this peg, which has a little plastic protector on the thread there. Obviously one would need to remove that before installing one, but yes, it can be done there. I'm not sure if you can boot from that, but the BIOS does allow you to select different boot options. So nifty and useful to know. Anyway, let's put this back together. Alright, so all up, disassembly wise, these are not too hard to pull apart. There's almost, well, the manual for these actually does tell you how to disassemble it. I think because there's really not much you can get wrong in there. I will probably drop that in there and put the cover on so I don't forget about them. And oh, there is this mounting that came with it to go on the back of the TV or a monitor or something, because I guess you can use them as a thin client. So it's interesting stuff, but yeah, we're going to put this to use somehow. I have a few ideas in mind at the moment. But all up, I hope that was useful to see that as a teardown. And yeah, let me know if it's useful. See you in the next one.